Locked On Podcast Network presents Locked On Sports Today.
Well, that didn't take long. The New York Knicks have fired Tom Thibodeau, but was it the right decision, and where do they go from here? Also, our local experts get you ready for the NBA Finals, and the Cowboys are going from pretenders to, no, seriously, contenders.
I'm Peter Makowski, starting your day with the can't-miss stories and biggest debates in sports. You're Locked On Sports Today.
Searching all major sports. Found.
Let's start with the biggest story.
The New York Knicks fell in the Eastern Conference Finals, and they are making a major change. Tom Thibodeau is out as the head coach. Alex Wolf from Locked On Knicks, and by the way, his co-host Gavin Shaw, at various points in the Eastern Conference playoffs, came on this show and talked on their show about some of the problems that Tom Thibodeau was having. Alex joins me now. And Alex, why is this ultimately where the Knicks landed?
Ian Begley, who works for SNY, had this yesterday, said that the Knicks, he was kind of like, he was honest. He was like, I'm not sure if if his job is safe or not. But one thing that I know is that the Knicks are approaching exit interviews a little differently this year. Seems, based off reporting, that they kind of, and based off putting things together from multiple places, that seems like they had a room of like the Knicks front office brain trust, I think also including James Dolan, had exit interviews with like each player and I would assume each staff member individually for the season. And my best guess is that those did not go well for Tibbs, and that there was probably not a lot of votes of confidence from guys like Karl Anthony Towns, Mikal Bridges, OG Anunoby. You know, Jalen Brunson and Josh Hart have kind of always been his ride or dies, you know, like they always go to bat for him to the media. They seem to, and maybe they're just given the good line to the media, whatever. But my guess is that's thing one. Thing two, I don't think it's a coincidence that former Knick assistant Johnny Bryant found himself. I know that there was someone was saying on Twitter earlier that the Suns have zeroed in on their coach candidate, but Johnny Bryant was one of the top two as of yesterday for that job. Johnny Bryant was hand poached from Utah by Leon Rose to be on Tibbs' staff. He was Tibbs' lead assistant for 3 seasons, and then, or 4 seasons. And then this past season went to Cleveland to be Kenny Atkinson's lead assistant. He's been a rising star for like a number of years. I think a lot of people that cover the Knicks, and, you know, like myself included, from what I've just heard from people, I'm not really like keyed in like that, but I know people that are keyed in like that. We're sort of always under the impression that Johnny Bryant was sort of like the heir apparent to Tibbs. We'll see what ends up happening.
So if you're going to put on the tinfoil hat, it is there's this other candidate who might be getting a job somewhere else, and the Knicks didn't want to miss out on that. That would be the theory there. That's an interesting one. From the Knicks perspective, though, you do have to assume that if you're going to make this move, you think you can upgrade. Let's say it doesn't work out with Johnny Bryant. Is there another name or two out there that you think would be an upgrade over Tibbs?
So I think what they would try to do is probably go for a young up and comer, but build out a very experienced bench staff. Leon has made it no secret. I mean, when he first hired Tibbs, he handpicked his top 3 assistants and hired them. And I think that was kind of contingent on hiring Tibbs, was like, hey, we're hiring you, but your top 3 assistants are going to be Johnny Bryant, Mike Woodson, Kenny Payne. Like, those 3 guys got hired. Tibbs didn't have any say in those hirings. That was just who Leon Rose wanted to hire to coach with Tibbs. Now, all those guys got other jobs, so none of them are on the team anymore. Maybe that has a little something to do with the fact that Tibbs fell into some of his worst tendencies this year. Who knows? I think what they would try to do is build out a very experienced bench behind him. But that said, some of those names might be names that come up even just to interview for the job. One guy that stands out to me who's sort of back on the radar in terms of potentially being a coach again, maybe if he wants to, it's totally up to him. But like Jeff Van Gundy has ties to the organization. That would be a name that, like, if I'm Leon Rose, I'm calling him up and saying, hey, dude, like we saw what you did in Los Angeles this year. Like the Clippers with that squad had like one of the best defenses in the NBA this year, and really overperformed what people thought they could do. So
you haven't said the magic name yet, Alex. I've been waiting this whole segment for you to say the two words, Jay Wright.
Oh, that's who you're thinking? I thought you were going to say Malone.
Oh, well, I mean, that's another one too. But Jay Wright, the Villanova thing, that's what I have heard a lot from Knicks fans and speculation in the media is that, hey, well, you've got all these Villanova guys. Why not bring in Jay Wright, who is, by the way, a national champion in the college game?
Sure. I mean, I could see going for it. I think that they're going to have to feel pretty confident that like for one thing, like Jay Wright left on his own terms from Villanova, right? Like it seemed like he was just kind of ready to retire. So maybe money changes everything, or maybe just the opportunity of coaching the Knicks changes everything with all the guys that he once coached. That said, I mean, we saw last offseason, I don't think that Villanova connection thing means that much to Leon Rose, if I'm being completely honest. Like he didn't seem to have too huge of an issue, including Dante DiVincenzo in the trade for Karl Anthony Towns. There's a chance maybe like if a move needs to come up and they can make a serious upgrade, they potentially include like Hart in it or something in this offseason as well. So like, I'm not necessarily putting all my chips on the Villanova thing at this point. I do think though, I mean, if he's willing to interview, then sure, why not? I would give Jay Wright an interview. Like he does have familiarity with the best player on the team, no matter what. And then, as far as like Malone, a lot of people have thought about him. I've been kind of ruling him out early. Like I even saw like some odds makers already had him not even on the list of like 10 candidates earlier. I would assume that that's because people probably know, like, I mean, he and Tibbs are like kind of tight. So I wonder if that would be just one of those principled stand kind of things where he'd be like, absolutely not. Even though he was once on the Knicks bench back in the day too. But yeah, I that's kind of where I stand on those other names. I do think though, I think this thing is either going to be exhaustive with like 10 candidates that they interview, or we're going to hear in like 2 days that they already are zeroing in on someone, which I think is Johnny Bryant. And if I was a betting man, I'd probably bet on option B, on them zeroing in very quickly and making a move towards who they want. Because even the first time Leon hired a coach, it was like 3 candidates and he came to a consensus pretty quickly on Tibbs. So that's kind of where I'm feeling right now.
You can stay up to date all year on the New York Knicks by subscribing to Locked On Sports Today and Locked On Knicks on YouTube or your favorite podcast app. You're Locked On Sports Today. Coming up, we preview the Pacers Thunder NBA Finals. Before we get to that, Sam Darnold is Seattle's starter, so quit asking. The NBA Finals are here, and FanDuel is giving new customers an incredible way to get in on the action right now. When you join FanDuel and place your first $5 bet, you'll get $250 in bonus bets if that first bet wins. I love how FanDuel makes betting easy. Whether it's picking your favorite team or diving into player props, from three-pointers to steals to assists, there's so many ways to bet your favorite player props. Plus, after the game tips off, you can even combine live prop bets into a same-game parlay for a chance to win big. Place that first $5 bet on the Cowboys, for example, who we'll talk about later. Dallas plus 340 to go under 5.5 wins this season. If you're not bullish on the bounce back from Dak, I like those odds. Don't miss out. Head to FanDuel.com and claim your $250 in bonus bets today. Seahawks coach Mike Macdonald made it clear only a fool believes that Seattle would go with anyone other than Sam Darnold at quarterback, despite a few hiccups in OTAs. Macdonald said the starting job isn't up for grabs, praising Darnold's preparation and leadership. It's Darnold's job. No more questions. Sounds like Seattle's found its minute by minute man. Over on the diamond, the Cardinals and Royals got into a shootout.
An absolute shocker in St. Louis as the Cardinals blow an early 5-run lead to lose game 1 of their series against the Royals. Hey, it's JD from Locked On Cardinals, and no need to sugarcoat this one. This was a brutal roller coaster of a game that had us at the highest of highs at one point, only for us to come right back down and land on our skulls. Cardinals score 7 runs in the first 3 innings thanks to home runs by Nolan Gorman and Alec Burleson. They chased Kansas City starter Michael Lorenzen after 2 2/3 innings. They got a 7-2 lead after the third. It was beautiful. Andre Palante was rolling after giving up 2 in that first inning, retired 13 in a row at one point. And then in the 5th inning, it just imploded. 5 straight hits, which bounced Palante. Then you get a couple of 2-out knocks off of Steven Matz. And just like that, Cardinals are looking up at an 8-7 deficit. Like out of nowhere, it just went. Offense never got going again. They end up losing this one 10-7. Brutal. Not the way you want it to begin your 9-game homestand. For the latest updates and info, be sure to keep it Locked On Cardinals.
And Jim Marshall, the Iron Man of the Purple People Eaters, has passed away at 87. The Vikings legend, Marshall played in 282 straight games and helped define an era of toughness and grit in Minnesota. His infamous wrong way run might live on blooper reels, but Marshall's real legacy is that of a relentless competitor, a 20-year captain, and a pillar of one of the most feared defenses in NFL history. The NBA Finals are set. Locked On Pacers host Tony East and Locked On Thunder host Rylan Stiles sat down to preview the epic clash for an NBA Finals crossover.
Yeah, I don't know how many times you'd get to say that in the NBA Finals that you would have the biggest market, but this is one where you do have the right to say it. I think that you summarized it and set the stage perfectly. It's just a battle between two teams that have continued to buck trends all season, all postseason long. The tempo which they play with is typically not allowed in the NBA playoffs. The youth and inexperience of their top of the line guys like Tyrese Halliburton, like SGA, like J-Dub and Chet is typically not allowed to get to this stage this fast. And they've made it. And now they are going to see a situation where they can go after their first ever NBA championship, which is going to be a lot of fun.
A rare thing where the winner will not be in the luxury tax. That almost never happens. The winner will
never happened before, where both teams are not paying the tax.
Both? I did not know that was the first time ever. I saw that the winner, it'll only be like the 5th time ever or something.
Yeah, it's never happened where both teams are not taxpayers.
One of the first 5 times that the winner will acquire their star players straight up via trade, not via sign and trade or signing or by drafting them. And obviously, it's the first title for Oklahoma City or Indiana. I assume you do not count the Seattle portion of this when you discuss
the fan base, the organization, myself. Nobody counts Seattle's history.
Yeah. And so a lot of history to be made here. It's going to be exciting. Most people know who these teams are because they've ran through 3 rounds of the playoffs. But it's our job to set the scene of this series, and I think this is the best place to start. You go first here, Rylan. What makes the Thunder so good?
They are built on a historically great defense and one that's only gotten better in the postseason. Obviously, defense travels, and defense is one of the more translatable pieces of the sport and of the game itself. But the fact that they've taken their defense to another level is surprising. They have just this plethora of point of attack defenders to throw at head of the Snakes throughout this playoff series, and they can do it in multiple different ways. Like you saw all the unique coverages that they put to Jokic to really have him off of his game. I mean, obviously he was still great in that series, but for his standards, that was not a comfortable and not a great series for Jokic. They took away Ant and Randall the entire series, and then Memphis didn't have a star. But you look at Indiana now, and they have a unique position to put the Thunder defense in, but it's been on the back of their defense, on the back of SGA, who has put together a historically great season. It's a small sample size because not a ton of guards have won the MVP award, but one of the best guard seasons for any player, and to win the MVP for him and go for the trifecta of winning the NBA MVP, Western Conference MVP, and maybe the NBA Finals MVP, like would be insane. Yes. You got to throw that in there of just leading the league in scoring from SGA, and then both teams building around the nucleus that has came up together. But also, when you look to the future, like they're not going to go away anytime soon, especially with how wide open the East is for Indiana. Like this is going to be something that both teams should relish in the NBA Finals. But yeah, it's been their defense, and it's been having one of the best players in the league in SGA.
Yeah, I've said basically since the first round, but really since the second round, that like if you broke every team into 2 parts, like for example, Cavs offense and Cavs defense, or like did that for every team left, the Thunder defense was the best thing. And it probably was, honestly, the second the playoffs started. But like I started saying it when the second round started in the field, right? And it's just a lot of the take a defense relative to the rest of the league average stuff says like it's the best defense ever, right? And it's that level of good. They have endless bodies who are talented to throw at people. Nikola Jokic was like, dang, this is really tough. This Alex Caruso guy's on me, and I can't really get rolling. It's just so good. You said something there that's not related to what we're talking about, but I have to address this now. you've probably already seen a bunch of think pieces like, how are these teams built? Can this team copy what the Thunder did? Can that team copy what the Pacers did? And I think you'd agree with me that while, yes, there are transactions that teams could try to emulate, the big answer is just that these two teams have been really good at player development. And like, that is hard. That is hard. You can't just copy player development to different locations. And everybody says, oh, they bought low on Aaron Nesmith. They identified Isaiah Joe on the waiver wire. And like, yeah, they did. But like, that's not what it is. If every team could just buy low on good players who happen to be available, they would. You don't know that. You have to make them a good player on your team. It's already driving me crazy about the Pacers, and I'm sure it's making you feel the same way about the Thunder. Isaiah Joe wasn't that good. That's why he got cut. But the Thunder made him good, and that applies to many of these guys on both teams.
Stay up to date all year on the Indiana Pacers and Oklahoma City Thunder by subscribing to Locked On Sports Today, Locked On Pacers, and Locked On Thunder on your favorite podcast app and on YouTube. Coming up, the Cowboys solidified the trenches and are ready to bounce back. The Dallas Cowboys actually made some solid moves this offseason. Locked On NFL host Tony Wiggins and Julian Council discuss why the Cowboys will go from pretenders to legitimate contenders in 2025.
I like this for Dallas, and they have really, really invested in their trenches, and they have always been a team. Rob Frederick was on his way to being a Hall of Famer, to go along with Zach Martin and Tyron Smith. They have always been a team, going back to Hudson Houck, that was able to dominate in a Jeff Stoutland Philadelphia Eagles type of way. If they can get Guyton, last year's first-round pick, I think he got chosen the first. Yeah, and they went and drafted Tyler Booker with the top 15 pick this year. That was a very Dallas Cowboys selection. I got to give them credit. I always say they go for the big, trendy popcorn muscles things, but they actually make very, very sound football decisions to go and beef up that offensive line. And I really do believe it's going to do wonders for their offense.
Yeah, I think that's always been that organization, that they want to be strong in the trenches, and they're kind of caught in between generations, so to speak, with the offensive line, because you bring up Tyron Smith and he's no longer there. Zach Martin retires this offseason, so they got Tyler Booker, who they just drafted from Alabama, who I believe in the pre-draft process said that he wants people to want to quit playing football after going up against him, which, yeah. That's kind of it, ain't it? I'm looking for if I'm any football team. Like, that's the guy. Hey, you, there's no concern about whether that guy loves the game. You might even love the game as much as he loves making people want to quit and just dominating them. So I think offensive line wise, like, they're going to be in a good spot moving forward. And I kind of look at New Orleans, where they had guys like Teron Armstead and Ryan Ramczyk, who both have left recently, whether it's been retiring or going to other teams, and they've had some struggles in trying to replace some of their guys up front. Where Dallas, they've done a pretty good job in some of the picks that they've made and hitting on them, where New Orleans is not hitting on their draft picks. And that can just be kind of the difference between possibly being the number one overall pick after this upcoming season and being right back in playoff contention, provided that your quarterback, Dak Prescott, stays healthy.
I'm sorry, I can't go there. This is a team that moved on from Mike McCarthy, a Super Bowl winning head coach, a good coach in the NFL, for Brian Schottenheimer, we'll hire him because he's here candidate. And that's not even really a direct shot at Brian Schottenheimer, more on the Cowboys process. They did not undergo some extensive search where they overturned every rock. They hired the guy that was already here and wasn't Mike McCarthy. He's not exactly someone who has inspired fear in the hearts of defenses over the years. He's not the next Sean McVay, the next Kyle Shanahan or Matt LaFleur or Mike McDaniel even. Maybe he can be a culture setter, but that's what Mike McCarthy was already there for. And we know the floor raising Mike McCarthy can do with an offense. That's not what they have. And there's still plenty of questions about this team. Do they have the depth necessary on defense? Do they have the right coaching on both sides of the ball? I'm still wondering about the playmakers. I'm still wondering about the run game. How much better is it going to be? Where is Dak Prescott in all of this? Can he stay healthy? The Eagles are better. The Commanders are better in their own division. In the NFC North, there's probably 3 teams better than the Cowboys. In the West, there's probably 2 teams better. In the South, there's at least one. The Bucs are definitely better than the Cowboys right now. Contenders, what are we talking about? And finally, the Indiana Pacers might want to book Caitlyn Clark a flight to Oklahoma City if they haven't already. The Pacers are a perfect 7-0 with Clark in the stands this postseason, and she'd theoretically be available for Indiana's first 2 games in OKC. If this is what it takes to prevent the finals from getting out of hand quickly, someone needs to get Clark on a plane and fast. If you're catching this episode after hearing your favorite Locked On show, make sure to subscribe to Locked On Sports Today on YouTube or wherever you get your podcasts so you never miss an episode. Also, if you're a new subscriber to Locked On Sports Today, we're here for you with the biggest stories in sports every day. Coming up, will Oklahoma City just, dog walk Indiana in game 1? Or will Halliburton and the Pacers be able to pull off the upset? Anything closer than 8 is probably an upset. So at least until tomorrow, stay locked on sports today.
Locked On Podcast Network presents Locked On Sports Today.
For more episodes of Locked On Sports Today, go to our video on demand. Click on sports at the top of your screen. There, you'll find past episodes of Locked On Sports Today, plus other Locked On shows on demand.